Hello there, geeks and gamers. I'm MarcTheCyborg, and today I'm going to talk to you about a game I've been playing which I think you might enjoy. So without further ado. After my Vanquish review on the main channel and my kickstarting of the wonderful 101 ports, I think I'm just going to be making my way through Platinum Games' entire catalog at this point. Before I dive too far back into Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, the masterpiece of video game storytelling that is Nier Automata, or the sexy Bayonetta games, I'm taking a look at the 2019 anime cop epic, Astral Chain. Like many games in Platinum's catalog, Astral Chain is a third-person character action game. The twist is that in addition to third-person, combo-based hack-and-slash action, there are open environment segments in which you, as the aforementioned anime cop, investigate cases and piece them together before the high-octane anime action pops off. After you scour the environment with your iris implant, which effectively functions like the detective vision from the Arkham games, you tally up your evidence and are asked a series of questions by one of the NPCs. Answering these questions correctly will result in greater bonuses at the end of the mission, so it pays to not only collect as much evidence as possible to fill up the investigation percentage at the top of the screen, but also to listen to, read, and understand what's happening in the case. This is kinda neat because it forces the player to intellectually engage with the game in a slightly deeper way than what might have been necessary if all you had to do was tick the investigation boxes to succeed.
Enough talk, let's fight!
The basis of combat in Astral Chain plays similarly to a simplified version of Bayonetta or Nier Automata. You have one attack button which launches a barrage of combos and can dodge in a stylish acrobatic fashion, with the perfect dodge adding a cool slow motion flourish.
But wait! There's more!
The meat of the combat comes from the titular Astral Chain. The Astral Chain is essentially a leash which allows you to summon and control a being called a Legion. Legions are similar to the stands from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or personas from the Persona games, and the way they're used in Astral Chain is just awesome. If you pull the left trigger, you can use the right analog stick to move the Legion around selecting targets, or press one of the face buttons to execute a special attack. You never lose control of your player character, you have to manage both of them at the same time, but when you get into the groove of how the combat system works, it feels incredible to use your Legion in creative ways. The most basic of which is to stun enemies by tying them up with the chain that connects the Legion to your player character. At the more advanced levels, your eye has to be keen enough to see quick flashes on the screen for team-up attack moments. A quick pull of the left trigger will then activate a cinematic camera angle and a high damage attack or combo. These seem to crank up your combat rating significantly, but they can sometimes leave you vulnerable to damage, so care should be made when using them in a difficult boss fight. It can be tempting to go for that flashy anime high damage attack, but a Jedi must learn patience. Then again, maybe don't take my word for it. I saw more D's during my playthrough than a frat boy during rush week.
Why is the other end of this string tied securely to your penis?
As you progress through the game, you gain additional legions, each with their own attacks, skill trees, and investigation abilities. Yeah, that's right, I was being a little sneaky earlier by not bringing up the legions when talking about investigations. They do help you to collect evidence. The Neuron Police Force, which you're a part of, can see the legions as well as the enemy beings known as Chimera, but normal humans cannot. This is handy as your legion can be used to eavesdrop on conversations or hack into computer systems and surveillance cameras, providing very valuable evidence for your case. Legions are effectively somewhere between being a ghost and a digital being. They and the Chimera are from a place called the Astral Plane, which appears to be a cross between the Matrix and Hell. Many of the missions in the game have you traversing or fighting in the Astral Plane, and the legions are useful here too. There are a few environmental and switch-based puzzles which require utilizing each legion's ability in creative ways. The Sword Legion can sever connections with a blade mode akin to the Zandatsu system in Metal Gear Rising. The Arrow Legion can fire arrows and hit switches from a distance. The Arm Legion can lift otherwise immovable objects and let you traverse over dangerous ground by acting as a suit of armor. The Beast Legion can dig through rubble to unearth items or hiding enemies, as well as track scents which are useful during investigations. You can also ride him around because he's such a good boy. Oh yeah, he's a good boy. Finally, the Axe Legion can set explosives in cracked walls to destroy them and provides a very handy bubble shield during combat. Several of the enemies require you to utilize your Legion abilities, and quick tip, the final boss will have you hot swapping between several Legions. It's a very tough battle, but a good example of additive game design in which you have to put lessons you've been learning over the course of the game into practice. The story and world in Astral Chain are very much what one would expect from a stylish cyberpunk anime, and while none of the characters' personalities will knock your socks off, the designs are all quite slick and the waifu husbando quotient is quite high. And yeah, Olive is definitely best girl. You create your own player character who is a silent protagonist, and personally I don't believe this was a great decision as it makes the hero of the story kind of flat and uninteresting, particularly when compared to other Platinum Games protagonists like 2B or Bayonetta. And no, that's not a waifu thing, they're just interesting characters, who also happen to be sexy waifus. The world, premise, and stylish action do a lot to make up for this though, so despite the weak characters, I still found myself intrigued by the story and wanting to see what happens next. Toward the end of the game, the story kicks into high gear and a couple of mind-blowing moments happen, which I won't spoil here, but if you find yourself going through the motions of the narrative in service of the awesome combat, just know that things go full anime in File 10 and retroactively make the whole story which came before it cooler. The major downside to Astral Chain is the technical performance. The art direction, models, and even the animations all look great, but this game is just trapped on the Nintendo Switch. Trapped like a cyborg ghost puppy leashed to an anime cop. The amount of things happening on screen coupled with the precise reaction time necessary to execute perfect dodges make this game just scream to be running at 60 frames a second or above, but alas, Platinum commits the cardinal sin of character action games and shoots for 30 FPS. And when I say shoots for, I mean it too. There are a lot of moments where this game dips to nearly unacceptable levels. As much as Bossman Jeremy's heart bleeds for all things Nintendo, they are absolutely the worst company to have publishing an exclusive, precision-based character action game due to their creative and innovative, but ultimately very underpowered hardware. My hope is that one of the projects in Platinum's self-publishing initiative is to have Astral Chain ported to other platforms, as despite the fact that the game runs like garbage and I'm a total frame rate whore, I had a great time with Astral Chain. Failing the possibility of ports to a more powerful platform, I hope the rumors of a Switch Pro turn out to be true and that there will be at least some way for this awesome game to run at a more acceptable frame rate in the future. Other than the performance, the only other downsides to note are the underdeveloped stealth segments and a bit of uneven pacing due to the slow exploration investigation segments, but luckily the stealth segments aren't very long and the amount of time you spend pursuing side quests is kind of up to your own taste. Despite those gripes, whether it's in the future on better hardware or today on your existing Switch or Switch Lite, Astral Chain is an amazing game set in a cool world with a very unique combat system. If you're into anime, cyberpunk, or action games, it's definitely worth your time. For Gaming with Geeks, I'm MarcTheCyborg, and your smile is gorgeous.